'Cause I love that dirty water. Ba-bum, bum, bum. Boston, you're my home. Unless you want to move to more affordable communities. Hey everyone, Matt Swierk here. You know, if you've been to this channel before, that I'm the local real estate expert right here in Massachusetts. For everyone else, welcome. If this is your first time, definitely subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell. Every time we make a video, you'll get notified. We have so much fun with this. We have so many people reaching out with so many different types of questions. When it comes to Massachusetts, you have questions, we have answers. When it comes to Massachusetts, we've always got your back. All right, so today we're talking about some affordable communities in Massachusetts. Yes, they do exist. Most of the housing market in the world has had a major increase. We're kind of running a 20% average or 21% or a 20% increase in values, depends where you go, what happens. So today we're just going to talk about some of the communities and areas that we find are affordable. I've actually lived in a couple of these, so I can give you a first-hand knowledge of the areas. So any questions about the specific areas I talk about, just like any other time, reach out to me, phone, text, email, Facebook Messenger, you got it. We're putting some new systems in place so we can get back to people quicker because we have a lot of interactions. It's just so much fun. I got a call last night and they were like, "Are you the YouTube guy?" And I was like, I guess so, I'm not sure. So anyway, the first place we want to talk about is the Townsend, Massachusetts, Pepperell, Massachusetts area, bordering right next to each other. A little bit different as far as communities. Townsend was actually where I lived for, I think 13 years I was over in Townsend. That market definitely has had a 21% increase as far as their value is concerned. We sold just about a year and a half ago to capitalize on the market. We should have waited because it would have been better, but it is what it is. But really Townsend, what I love about Townsend, very, very rural area, lots of farm, lots of space between neighbors. Of course, you have some areas that are pretty tight together, but for new construction, you need at least a 2-acre minimum. So, it's really a, sorry, I just got a note. I'm shooting this on my phone. I just got a notification. I just swipe it off, so I apologize. It's a really nice community. And when I lived out there, for those of you who have seen my videos, I grew up in Quincy, Massachusetts, which is a city just south of Boston. And when I had friends who would sleep over, we'd go get gas in the morning, grab some food, and we just said hello to everyone. And people from the city were like, "Do you know everyone?" I said, "No." I said, "This is amazing. Like, this is the community we have, and people are friendly and outgoing, nice." And they're like, "We're not used to that." So, little disclaimer, when it comes to the Northeast, we kind of have this thing around us, we're a little rough on the outside. Once we get to know you, then absolutely we'll give you the shirt off our back. We'll be your best friend. But, there's a little bit of kind of got to break it down and some trust there. So, and that's really what a lot of these communities are. They're small knit communities, and never mind having the trust factor, but just having a small little place to call home. Kind of sleeper communities, not very close to a lot of amenities, right? So Townsend's kind of tucked away. There's not a lot of ways to get in and out of there. Where I used to live, it was 30 minutes from my door to 495, which is one of the major roads that wraps around the city, far out from around the city. So that was quite a commute. However, different parts of Townsend, it's only an hour to Boston, so it's still pretty, or hour to an hour and a half. So it's pretty accessible. Some of the other communities I'm going to talk about have a commuter rail and a train that can get you there. For example, Leominster, Massachusetts, we'll talk about that one, but that has a great high-speed rail that goes through Shirley, Ayer. So even though it's not right next to the city, you can get there if you have a little bit of patience and being on the commuter rail, sit down with a cup of coffee, a newspaper, relax, and just enjoy the ride. Townsend, really funny. There was a TV show, it was called Zip Trips, and they used to travel around all the different zip codes in Massachusetts. And when they shot Townsend, they shot it on the little town common, and the thread of it was that this was an average town. Right, it was really funny because the income was average, the house pricing was average, everything was average, and we were a self-sustaining community in the sense that we have a couple gas stations, we got multiple convenience stores, two Dunkin' Donuts. Holy moly. We had a grocery store. There was a manufacturing plant. So, if the world shut down for a little bit, that's okay, because Townsend, has it together. And I remember one of the first times that the electricity went out, it's dead silence for about 3 seconds. And then all of a sudden you hear, brrrr. I'm like, what is that noise? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, everyone has a generator. The power shuts off. They're like, whatever, we'll just live on our own, and bam, everything gets going on, and people are pretty self-sustaining out in that area. Second community I want to talk about, and I know you're going to say, Matt, you said Massachusetts. We're talking Nashua, New Hampshire. What just happened here? Listen, there's no right or wrong with this channel. We get to say whatever we want. Hopefully we don't offend too many people. We have fun with what we do, but we brought Nashua in just as far as affordability. And I like accessibility as well, right? Because if we're going to stay in the vertical of real estate, it's price, location, and condition, right? Location, location, location. So in my world, location is really important. And a lot of clients don't have to be in downtown Boston, but they want to be able to get there in a reasonable amount of time. So I know, sometimes on the other videos we talked about, New England as a whole. Today we're gonna sneak in Nashua, New Hampshire. We love Nashua, right? I went to Plymouth State College up in New Hampshire. Didn't spend a lot of time in Nashua because I was up in the White Mountains. But I traveled through it in Nashua all the time. And living in these communities, so Nashua was one of the bigger areas to go to from Townsend. We can go down to Leominster, we can go over to New Hampshire. And with New Hampshire, you don't pay sales tax, right? So anyone that goes across the border to buy goods and does not pay taxes, you're supposed to claim on your income taxes that you went over there and you bought something. So if you buy something in New Hampshire and you live in a taxable state, make sure you do that, right? That's my tax tip of the day. Okay, it happens all the time. Right, and then we have tax-free holidays in here in Massachusetts where they just waive the sales tax and everyone says, what a bargain, and they go shopping. And it really pumps up the economy. So anyway, back to Nashua. It's right there in the New Hampshire, Mass border. Very quick access to Lowell. Very easily accessible on Route 3 that goes right down. You can, catch that to Route 95. That wraps around the city in different ways. You can take 95 over to 93. That goes right down up and through the city. If you need a map, reach out to me. We'll send you a map of the area. Same thing with the commuter rail. We have maps of that so you know where the train can get you and how to maneuver through the state in a pretty easily accessible way. This community, same thing, just like Townsend, there's about a 21% increase as far as property values. And the average home was about $392,000. So very, very high value. It's an interesting community, right? When we talk about cities, there is, every community has its positive and its negative. And some of the negatives are more negative than others, and some of the positive are more positive than others, right? I'll let everyone be the judge as far as that's concerned. I have a pretty thick appetite for things. As far as Nashua is concerned, there's definitely, just like some areas, there's some not so great areas that you wouldn't want to be, you may not feel comfortable in. There's other parts of Nashua that are absolutely beautiful. There's this place called Skyline Drive. It's this gated community that overlooks multiple golf courses, really high end. It's an awesome, awesome place. But Nashua, the Pheasant Lane Mall, there's really, there's such a blend of what you can get there. It's really a great community. So I know it's not Massachusetts, but it's right next to us, right? So if there was a cool place in Rhode Island that we like, we'd slide that in there too, because sometimes we go New England, right? So sometimes we say Boston, sometimes we're Massachusetts. We're all over the place, if you've seen the channel. So Nashua, New Hampshire, definitely a great place to move into. Like I said, lots of businesses. That Daniel Webster Highway where the Pheasant Lane Mall has everything you can imagine. Great barbecue places. I mean, there's an RV place that's actually right over the line in Massachusetts. So that's how close they are. They're right there, it's right there. So that's enough about Nashua, but we love New Hampshire, and a couple of the team members are licensed up there, so we actually do transactions in both states here in Mass and New Hampshire. Next place I'm going to talk about is Haverhill. So Haverhill, Massachusetts, going up more towards the North Shore of Boston. They've had about a 20% rise in their property values. Their average home sales are about $420,000. There's some really beautiful buildings there. There's some really beautiful landscape. Great neighborhoods like Bradford. You have the Riverside, which is right down, and the River Walk, which is right on the Merrimack River. That's absolutely gorgeous. We helped sell a property over there, and I did a little video on the walkway, just as far as what you could do in the neighborhood, and it was awesome. There's lots of award-winning restaurants and bars. There's over 35 square miles that are waterfront, farmland, heavily wooded areas. I mean, this is a very diverse community, and this community, we actually like this as far as the investing side, because there's a lot of long-term city development and economic development in that area now and coming in the future. There's also commuter access to Boston. So Haverhill's a great community. One of our team members lives up there. I'm not gonna tell you who though, because I don't want to give out their information. So Haverhill's a great place. Like I said, it's great for investing. So I've had a couple people reach out about investing in real estate. We love talking about that as well. We love talking. As you can tell, I talk. All right, so next one we're going to talk about, references in the beginning, is Leominster, Massachusetts. So Leominster, we have some family members over there. It's an interesting community as well. So you have same type of thing. You have some really, really nice areas that you wouldn't even imagine where you were. You know, you'd think you're out in the countryside. You have other areas that are really packed in with all those multifamilies. We call them multis here. A lot of people I talk to around the country call them duplexes, triplexes. So I want to speak your language, right? Some of the words you may or may not understand me what I say if I talk fast and I drop the R, which I do and do not at some point in time, depending on what's going on in my brain. But as a kid from the city, without a question, you know, and when I start talking fast, you can definitely hear my accent. So I'm in sales and all my life, so I've had to change that a little bit, just as far as looking to be more professional. So I guess I'm caught up on my self-image, but anyway. And like I said in another video, yes, we do learn the full alphabet in grammar school. Yep, it's amazing. So someone asked me that when I lived in Seattle. They said, do you not learn the letter R? I said, of course we do. So, okay, anyway, I digress. So Leominster, where were we? All kinds of different properties there. You know, it has that one. There is a lot of sections that are, you know, going to be more tight in. It's interesting because some of the areas that are really tight in Nashua are all named after trees, and the areas that are really tight in Leominster are all numbered, so like 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th Street. So that area is heavily involved with the duplexes and triplexes, maybe quadplexes, right? There's a couple of those there. However, there's other areas, lots of condo developments. It's really a great city. It's very accessible. To get on Route 2 that goes across the state, you know, can get into Boston, or if you want to go west and then get to Connecticut or down to New York, that's very easy. So as far as accessibility, there is Route 190 that runs right down into Worcester, and that's the 2nd largest city in the state. So people that live in Leominster will commute down to Worcester to work. There's a lot of activities down in Worcester as well. They've really done a lot as far as their economic development to bring people into that area. That area has grown big time because of all the colleges down there. You have Clark, WPI, there's a lot down there, Holy Cross. So you easily can get up and down as far as Route 190 getting into Westford, and then like I said, jumping on Route 2 getting into the city or going the other way. So not Worcester. See, I'm losing my mind. It's gone. Okay, I'm going to take a deep breath, reset. There we go. All right, so what else can I tell you about Leominster? Very, very, very easily accessible. You know, again, they have a commuter rail that runs right through. So that's something a lot of people do commute into the city of Boston because they have that accessibility. And it's pretty affordable as far as the state is concerned. You know, average home's about $369,000. So, you know, perception's all, you know, that's the magic key. So it depends on what you're looking at. If you're looking at a price point of $200,000, that's a lot of money. If you have other people looking at $1.5 million, then $300,000 not that much. So, but yes, we've talked about some of the costs of living in Massachusetts. Go back to some of the videos. Okay, so I have all these side things I want to say, and I'm like, Matt, just stick to the story. Don't just stop with your other stories. All right, the other community, the last ones we're going to talk about, these are kind of sandwiched together, is Ayer and Shirley. I live in Shirley right now. We actually fix and flip properties, and when we were about to put that house on the market, we decided, let's sell our house and move into the flip. So it's a great story for me to tell because as a company that does fix and flip rehabs, I literally will move into one of my products because that's how strongly I stand behind it, right? And that's what our team focuses on. So when I have people that go out and they're like, I don't know if I want to buy a house that was flipped. I was like, I understand where you're coming from. Let's see who the company was that did that. Make sure they're credible. Make sure they don't cut corners. Then you feel confident. So, we have ways of making you talk, right? We're going to find out who did what. And if it's you can tell, like if anyone's gone into a property that someone worked on, you can tell where they cut corners all day long. Like that knife must have been super sharp because they're like ching, ching, ding, ding, dum, 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 done. So they shaved that thing down. So, all right, back to Ayer and Shirley. Enough about my story, moving into my flip. This was a cool place to live, right? Very, very diverse community. I found out they have a pretty strong Polish community, or they had a very strong Polish community. Yes, I'm Polish, so we have a couple clusters around the state. I'm not steering anyone to any certain areas. I'm just saying that I found out a little fact as far as the Polacks. It's so diverse. There's some mobile home communities. There's a commuter rail that runs right through. So that was something interesting that when I go look at projects, I'm not there all day. And every time I went to look at that project, I never heard anything, right? Maybe it's because the guys were like doing work with the saws. The first day that we move in, all of a sudden I hear this like, it was the commuter rail, like run some of there's freight trains that run through, and these things can go like 2:00 in the morning. So the first couple nights, now remember, I moved from a small bedroom community, Townsend, very, very quiet, out in the middle of the woods. I move over to Shirley where, now there's street lights again, just like when I was a kid. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. We woke up that first day, there's people walking up and down the street. And my other house, there was like four houses on the street. You didn't see neighbors. So I was like, wow, I'm back into people. I love it. This is amazing. It's not as crazy as Boston, but like there's some more activity than just the deer and the coyotes howling. So that was really fun. And this area is, it's great because it's people, the Shirleyites, right? Like they can go, Shirley and Ayer is right next to each other. So, and they've both had pretty decent increases as far as the markets are concerned. Shirley, the price point is about $420,000 for a single family home. Ayer is about $460,000. So it's a little bit higher. Ayer is another interesting community as far as what does it have. So Ayer has a really strong business, like downtown business area. Lots of great restaurants. We did a video interview with a company called Bar 25. This was an amazing place, and there were so many great restaurants down there. Really shifted very well as far as the pandemic, as far as doing outside seating. But there's a lot to offer there. There's an amazing Korean restaurant there called Woojung. I've been there a gazillion times. So what's nice about these communities is they're much cheaper as opposed to, say, like a Littleton or a Westford that has a much higher price point. But geographic, it's not much different, because if you're here in the Westford or Littleton, you're going to have to kind of come up and come down to get to Boston. Over here, you got to kind of come down and across. So it's very similar as far as accessibility. And again, the commuter rails are in both these towns. So that's great. All these areas, the crime is fairly low. Again, very tight-knit communities. So of course, people are going to have each other's backs and going to be looking around to make sure that everyone's doing the right thing, right? So, they're not going to be calling the police for everything, but if you're doing something wrong, like, get out of the community because we're calling the police on you, right? The local neighborhood crime watch, right? Take a bite out of crime, like McGruff the crime dog. Yes, I'm showing my age there, but Schoolhouse Rocks, anyone that saw that? Yes, Saturday morning cartoons. Oh, I love that. So the other cool thing is that Leominster and not Leominster, wrong community, Ayer and Shirley actually share schools, right? So they have a couple different regional schools. So that's really nice. So that way you take two communities, make it into one big community. There's really a sense of pride there. All right, so there was some communities that are a little more affordable than living in Boston. So listen, whether you're coming into, you want to visit us, you want to look here to rent, you're looking here to purchase a place. A lot of people are lost in what to do. You have lots of questions. We're going to have lots of answers. Reach out any way you can. When it comes to Massachusetts, just remember, we've always got your back.